So did you watch the debate or the Blue Jays? In my house, it was the debate. While the ball game was uplifting, brought out the best in everyone, the presidential debate was depressing, even terrifying at times, because truth was on trial. Tonight, Kol Nidre is the night of truth, when we come out of our hiding places and we do a very difficult thing. We tell the truth. Tonight we stand before Dayan Ha'emet, the judge of truth, and we tell the whole truth, because God is forgiving and because God knows the truth anyway. Tonight we stand before ourselves in the mirror of truth, and we reveal it all. No posing, no pretending, no presuming. Just the naked and exposed truth in our small hands, because we cannot bear the weight of the transgressions one more day. Tonight, we dig down deep to find a new measure of courage and to stand before our neighbors and our friends, our dear ones and strangers too, and we admit the truth that we might otherwise deny. We tell the whole truth when sometimes we might only reveal a half-truth to the ones we love the most. We do this because we are bound up now in a shared humanity which can only stand together on the hard but solid ground of truth. Without it, the world reverts back to tohu vavohu, to the watery chaos that was before God said, "Let there be light." I was more than embarrassed to watch the presidential debate with my 3 sons this weekend. I wanted to protect them from the mockery of the highest office, but that would have been hiding a truth too. I wanted to share with my boys, who are dual citizens, pride in democracy. I wanted to show them eloquent models of leadership and service. Perhaps I should have flipped the ball game, where the rules of engagement are honored, where there is respect showed for the players and for the audience alike, where when the truth of a play is called into question, there are instant replays and umpires with authority to discern a truth from a false claim. But I didn't. We watched the debate until the bitter end. And I am still searching for teachable lessons for our boys. The only consolation Adam and I found was in filling out our absentee ballots. Our sages teach that emet, truth, is God's seal. Truth, emet, is God's signet ring. Every God-given word is true, every judgment is true, while we are filled with lies and deceit. According to one study from the University of Massachusetts, 60% of adults lie at least once in the first 10 minutes of a conversation. Some falsehoods like, "Oh, I'm fine," may be harmless enough, but when candidates require constant fact-checking and journalists have been replaced with spin masters, society is compromised and we are at risk. It seems that just when facts are more accessible to us than ever before, there is less truth. How is this possible? And before we Torontonians get holier than thou, I am reminded of how parents across the city struggle to find the words to explain our former mayor, may his soul be at peace. Rabbi Shimon imagines the scene when the Holy One, blessed be God, was about to create Adam, the first human being. The ministering angels, who are said to be competitive with human beings because no matter how we might sin, God forgives us, while the angels, on the other hand, carry out God's will without flaw. God pays little attention to them. Like a rebellious child who receives more care and attention from the parent, human beings are favored by God. And so the ministering angels quickly form themselves into factions and groups. Some of the angels said, "Let Adam be created." And some of them said, "Let Adam not be created." The angel called Chesed, loving kindness, said, "Let Adam be created because he will perform acts of loving kindness." And the angel called Emet, truth, said, "Let Adam not be created because he will be nothing but falsehood." The angel called Tzedek, justice, said, "Let Adam be created because he will do deeds of justice." And the angel called Shalom, peace, said, "Let him not be created because he will be nothing but conflict." So the score was 2-2. 2 for and 2 against. And what did the Holy One, blessed be God, do? God knew that the angel truth spoke the truth, that if human beings were to be created, they would be filled with falsehood. And so God took truth, God's seal, and hurled him down to the ground. Rav Huna, the elder from Tzipori, said, "And while the ministering angels were debating and arguing with one another, 2 against 1 now, the holy God created Adam and said, 'What are you arguing about? The human being is already made.'" But the story doesn't end there. The ministering angel said to God, "Master of the universe, why do you humiliate your seal? Lift Emet up, take up truth from the earth." And God said, "Let truth grow up out of the earth itself. Let truth grow." Like the angels themselves, we must demand that truth be lifted up from its downcast state and placed at the center of our expectations, of ourselves, and of one another. We use every letter to string together an acrostic, an alphabetical poem of confessions, Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu. And how is that little word emet spelled? First with Aleph, it ends with Taf, and the middle letter is Mem, just like in the Aleph-Bet. We use every letter, for they are our tools for building a just and a trustworthy society. Whether in the courts or in the media, in the marketplace or in our homes, our schools, or our sanctuaries, words must ring true, even when they are hard to hear, perhaps especially when they are hard to hear. Our prophets were professional truth tellers. It was their gift and their burden to withstand hard truths that most could not. Now, we are not prophets, and we are not the children of prophets, but the holy books which tell of them are our inheritance. They are our ethical ancestors, and they call upon us this hour to be courageous as they were courageous in speaking truth to power, truth to sacred purpose. A few hard truths for this night of truth. 6 million refugees roam our world today, 60 million without a place to call home. We Jews of all people know what it is to wander, to migrate, and to run for our very lives. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha. And we close our eyes to this hard truth and pretend it does not speak to us. And this does not become us. As of today, 31,919 refugees have come to Canada from Syria alone. Our government's job is to discern who is worthy of such an invitation, and our job is to welcome them. More than 150 members of our congregation, including me, are taking up this mitzvah in one way or another. O God of truth, place us on the right side of history. Another hard truth. Canada's crime rate has hit a 45-year low, and this is reason to celebrate. And yet there are 70% more Black Canadians in federal prisons than there were 10 years ago. We are not immune to racial injustices and racial profiling. We are not even aware of how deeply run the channels of racial privilege and racial prejudice in this country. Indigenous peoples make up 4.2% of Canada's population, but account for 22.8% of federal prisoners. Emet u'teshuvah is the best translation for truth and reconciliation. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the work has only begun. Join in our ongoing partnership with Ve'ahavta. O God of truth, show us that every human being is created in your divine image. Another hard truth for this day of truth, the great city of Toronto, this metropolis of riches, remains the child poverty capital of Canada, with 28.6% of children living in, quote, very low income households. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha. How do we sleep at night knowing they go to bed hungry? Join Rabbi Satz and our Social Action Committee in initiatives for poverty reduction. O God of truth, show us how, like manna in the wilderness, you have provided us with plenty, if only we would share it. And one more truth. Torontonians report hate crimes against Jews and LGBTQ people in equal proportion. And hate crimes against Muslims are a close third now. Islamophobic hate crimes have more than doubled in the past 3 years. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha. Let us not pretend this truth does not speak to us. Join in our opportunities for interfaith exchange and partnership. O God of truth, teach us to love our neighbor as ourselves. Tomorrow afternoon, we will be fortunate to gather from 2 to 3 p.m. in this sanctuary. We'll pause from our prayers for some study. And we will hear from Lyndon McIntyre, preeminent Canadian broadcaster, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, and Giller Prize-winning novelist. He is an essential role model for us now in how to fiercely confront hard truths until they crack open the gate to repentance. And this night, let me share one hard truth about our beloved Israel. On January 31st, 2016, the Israeli government passed an agreement to create an egalitarian section at the Kotel. Since then, some Orthodox parties have been working to prevent the agreement from implementation. Israel's Supreme Court recently declared, quote, "Enough is enough. Stop the foot dragging on implementing what was already agreed upon." I invite you to join our Israel Committee by clicking on the link on our website to send a letter to Israel's leadership saying, "I am a member of the Reform movement and I am a friend of Israel. I'm writing to express my deep frustration, for 2016 began with great hope. After decades of struggle and 3 years of difficult negotiations, you finally reached an agreement to make Judaism's holiest site into a space that represents the true diversity of the Jewish people. However, when I review the past year, I see the mikvaot legislation that was approved with government support. I see the ongoing incitement against Reform Jews continue by ministers and Knesset members. 2 million of Jews in Israel and around the world. The Kotel is the symbol of our eternal connection to the land of Israel, and that in spite of our differences, we are one people. I fear that if you continue to use this symbol of Jewish unity as a political bargaining chip and a wedge to pull the Jewish people apart, Jews from New York to London to Johannesburg to Hong Kong will be watching with great interest to learn if they are truly part of Am Yisrael, or if we will continue to be treated as second-class Jews in the eyes of the Jewish state. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, with the greatest love for our Israel, we have allowed the Jewish character of the Jewish state to be compromised to the detriment and the discrimination of our own Reformed Jewish brothers and sisters. So please join the campaign of Artzeinu, the international organization of Reform Zionists, to make sure that the Jewish state is a home for all kinds of Jews, including our own kinds of Jews. O God of truth, Or Chadash al Tzion Ta'ir, let a new light shine upon Zion. Good people, one more thing we should note about the word emet. The root of this word, Aleph Mem Taf, shares a root with the word emunah, for faith. They are one and the same, Aleph Mem Nun, Amen, Amen. When there is less truth, there is less faith. And God is diminished. God's seal is diminished. Emet ve'emunah kol zot. When truth is expanded, God is expanded, and God's seal is affirmed. God is found wherever there is truth. God's absence is there only when there is falsehood. We are a people not only driven in the pursuit of intellectual truth, but also infatuated with moral truth, for that is where God can be found, in the just act, in the upright stance. Kol Nidre demands nothing less. So tonight we take up God's seal of truth, and with a still small voice within us, we whisper private truths within our hearts, and we speak quiet and careful truths to the ones we love. And with the blast of the shofar, let us speak the public truths so that they might be heard in the highest reaches of governing power. Let us then be rewarded by God who hates lies, by God who desires truth. And then may our names be written and sealed in the book of life, sealed with God's glorious signet ring of truth. Amen.